Today we are very pleased to be welcoming John Jantsch to our business transformation series. John is one of the world's leading small business marketing experts. He prescribes real-world and proven small business marketing ideas and strategies. He's the founder of Duct Tape Marketing Systems and the Duct Tape Marketing Consulting Network. He's the author of Duct Tape Marketing and the Referral Engine, and he has just released his latest book, The Commitment Engine. John's blog is rated amongst the top 25 marketing blogs, and quite simply, John is the go-to person for small business marketing. John, a very warm welcome to you.
Well, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Very nice to have you here.
You bet.
And we have a confession to make, and basically we are raving fans of your work. We listen to your books in the car with our 3 daughters, and we are very excited that you got a new book, The Commitment Engine. And can you tell us a bit about the Commitment Engine? What is it exactly?
Well, first I have to tell you that I do have one up on you. I have 4 daughters, so. My first 2 books were very much, as you noted, kind of straight marketing books. My systematic approach to marketing, and I've owned my own small business for over 25 years now, and I really wanted to write a book that it certainly drew upon, the practical approach that I think is really all I know. But I wanted to really share a much more holistic approach about what I think it takes to build a business that serves your life. I work with now and speak with tens of thousands of small business owners, and I find a great deal of seemingly successful entrepreneurs feel very fulfilled and satisfied with what they're doing, and that same, half of that same group of seemingly successful entrepreneurs feel like their business is sucking the life out of them. And I wanted to write a book that really talked about this idea of getting clarity around purpose and building a culture that really attracts people for fit, and then lastly, of course, building an entire community or customer base around people that are really drawn to that purpose as well. There are many ways to build a business. I just happened to really wanted to kind of chronicle my belief about what I think is one of the best ways to build what I've been calling a fully alive business.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
So we know that in the book you identify 3 things in particular. You mention a hunger for extreme clarity, a culture of shared commitment, and a ridiculous passion for community. So can you tell us more about these individually, and what's the sort of transforming effect that all 3 of these can have on a business?
Yeah, so I kind of drew those from my spending time and doing interviews with companies where I found that people loved going to work there, that their customers were passionate about talking about them, and really I wanted to get a sense of what are they doing that really creates that environment. And those were the 3 things that I found. They were extremely clear about why they did what they did. Yeah. And it, in many cases, had very little or not directly related to the products and services that maybe they sold, and that was very attractive to people that wanted to come to work there. And you'd go and you'd talk to their employees, and they'd talk about how it wasn't just a vision statement or a plaque on the wall. That clarity came through in every decision they made, everything they did, every product they made, and really these shared beliefs really allowed people to be very attracted to that idea, and it became kind of their why I do what I do. And so it literally allows people to find almost a mission, by being your employee or supporting at least that cause because they believe in it, and you make that your main marketing message. And so then consequently, I talk about a customer being almost a natural, outcome of sharing that passion. It won't be, it's like all great marketing. It won't be for everybody, but the people that are very attracted to what I've started calling the higher purpose that a business serves are going to be extremely attracted to it, and they're going to be the most loyal group of customers. And I even, I expand that to community because I think it's also very attractive to suppliers and vendors and mentors and people that come, the whole ecosystem that supports a traditional business these days.
Yeah. Now, we saw your video on TED, and there you spoke about the higher purpose, and you gave the example of the business of Tony and Mary Miller. How would you recommend that a business applies this higher purpose to their companies?
Well, yeah, the first thing is, and as you noted in that video, and the Millers will tell you that they didn't go out one day and say, here's going to be our higher purpose. It kind of found them. And I think that that's the part that, a lot of people, they'll read this idea or a blog post I've written, and they'll think, okay, we need to lock ourselves in a room and find our higher purpose. And I really think that it's something that has to come with an understanding of, what you want your life to be about, what you don't want your life to be about, what you're willing to bring to your business, to understand the things that you're really passionate about. And I think that what happens typically is if then you sort of create that inner desire to find a higher purpose, it will find you. And I think that's I know that's sometimes that's a little squishy for people to get their arms around, but I think it has to be a mindset change that says we're going to find this single-minded thing. And mind you, it doesn't have to be. I think in that example, their higher purpose is making dreams come true. It doesn't have to be something that you look at as spiritual or religious. I share other people in the book that talk about, their higher purpose is to bring extreme value and make a whole lot of money doing that so that they can actually do some other things that really serve their life. So I think the key, though, is to just have it and make that just be very clear about here's what we do and why we do it. And I think that a lot of times when people find that, what it allows them to do is start ignoring a lot of things that want to drag their attention and their focus away. It almost acts like this filter that says, no, we're not going to do that, or no, we're not going to treat a customer that way. I mean, it allows the business and the people in the business to almost self-manage.
So when you talk about culture, I mean, many small businesses, they might struggle with the idea of culture. They might not even think that they have a culture. What would you say to them? How can they address that?
Well, culture is one of those words that gets batted around in many management circles, and so it is a little hard for a small business to get their arms around it. I mean, every business has a culture, really. I mean, because it's just, it's the collect. I mean, in a one-person business, it's just the collective who you're being. Can be described as culture. But I think where a lot of people get tripped up is they read a lot about companies that buy ping pong tables and foosball tables and espresso machines, and they put them in the office, and that makes a good culture. And there's a couple companies that I talk about in this book where they forego a lot of those things because it cuts to the bottom line, and they work really hard, and they help each other, and they get paid bonuses because the company performs a certain way, and they're all very clear about that, and that being their mission, that no orders are ever late, is their culture. And consequently, they all, as I said, they're all willing to forego certain things and to really look at ways to cut costs, and that is an extremely healthy culture for that group of people that were drawn there.
Yeah.
You also talk about community, how important it is to build that around your business. What would you recommend? Do you think offline is more important, online, a mixture of both?
Well, today I can't think of a business that really can't benefit from a mixture of both, quite frankly. But it really starts with this mindset. I mean, a lot of what I'm trying to communicate in this book is it's not enough for you to be passionate about what you do and to even then communicate that to a group of people that want to serve this higher purpose. The community has to be attracted to that higher purpose as well, and that really, to me, has to come out in communicating the stories and the messages that really allow people to connect to that higher purpose. But then to just really make that run through everything that you do. There are a lot of people that create these statement of shared beliefs and things, and they put them up on the wall for everybody to hopefully talk about at the annual meeting. and really, those beliefs have to really come to life in action in everything that you do, and that includes every interaction with customers and your community. So part of that is certainly a mindset, but then the second part is really then to look at this broader sense of community. Again, I think that traditionally businesses look at their customers as maybe the only aspect of their community. And one of the things that I think we've all learned over the last few years is this idea of, what we call them, users or friends or fans or, whatever term we want to use. We ultimately have this very large community that impacts our business in one way or another. I mean, there are people that read my newsletter and share it and talk about products and services. I never come into direct contact with them. They never buy anything from me, but they certainly are an important part of my community, and I can't ever let those people down because, like it or not, they're all publishers now.
Yeah.
and so a big part of that community is that they can talk about you for good or bad, and do, quite frankly. And so I think we have to really think in terms of it's not just promote stuff so that I can draw people into the funnel and sell them something, but it's this entire, here's our authentic, what we stand for, what we believe, how we're going to put out content in our particular case, and know that this community for us might be hundreds of thousands of people.
Okay, John. One of the problems that I think that we find as well is that business owners, they'll often view marketing as it's just kind of another expense rather than being an integral part of what they do. And what would you recommend to somebody who has that particular mindset?
Don't make any long-term plans. Well, no, I mean, you see the reason for it. Of course, a lot of people they go into business because they know how to do something. Yeah. And they quickly find in many cases that they're not going to get to anybody to let them do that something unless they get customers, find customers, keep customers, and so it just has to be looked at. What I try to get people to do and have in all my writing is that marketing is a system. I think it's the most important system in your business. So think in terms of it like you do whatever your business does to make it and fix it and ship it. I mean, those in many cases, if we're getting stuff out the door, we're serving customers. I mean, we're doing it because we've figured out a methodology or a way to do it. And I think you need to look at your marketing that way. That there are set steps. That it has to be something that becomes a habit. That somebody in the business has to be the director of marketing. From time to time, and that it just needs to be a piece that you build on over time. I think a lot of times people look at marketing in many cases as an event. Let's run a Facebook contest, or let's do this thing. And call it marketing, and it really is just a day in, day out, consistent, working the same message over time, building momentum. And I think that when you start to kind of align it in that way, to me, it gets a lot easier.
Definitely.
And many small businesses, they know that they need to do social media, but they just don't know where to start. What would you recommend to these small businesses that maybe don't take social media that
Well,
seriously?
I mean, we all know, or have certainly come to know that the value of social media as one of the integrated pieces. Social media is how you get email subscribers. Social media is how you get people to events. It's how you get people to share your content and draw links. I mean, there are many pieces that ultimately, as you're working the system, again, as opposed to a social media event, that makes social media pay off. But what I always tell people, particularly people that say, well, gosh, it just looks like a lot of time, and I don't see the payoff because I don't tweet into my, and then my cash register rings. They can't make that direct connection. What I always tell them is start with your customers. If you start, at the very least, follow your customers and on Twitter and on Facebook and put them into a CR, everything they're doing in social media, maybe into a CRM system. And one of the things that happens when I get people to do that is all of a sudden they realize how much great information they can collect that can make them smarter about what their customers need, that can make them smarter about how to build deeper and faster relationships with their customers, can actually help them understand which one of their customers are very influential and perhaps spreading the word about them and referring them already. And so that's to me, because it's a pretty simple step, and it's one that does have usually an immediate payoff, is how I get folks that are resistant with social media to really start getting interested in it.
Yeah,
excellent. And another topical theme is pricing, and especially given this sort of economic situation that we're in. Many businesses, they are tempted to focus on lower pricing. And we know from your work that you state that this is a very bad idea, a very bad approach. Why? Could you just explain to our listeners why this is, and what's the alternative for somebody who finds themselves in a price-sensitive market?
Well, the only in I've seen this for years and years of experience. The only time you're in a price-sensitive market is because you haven't done a good job showing how you're different.
Yeah.
I think that part of the problem is that our customer needs a difference, and so if they look at one plumber or electrician or accountant and they want to compare a couple and can't, you're communicating some clear difference to why you offer more value, then they are going to default to price. Because they have to have something to compare it to.
Yeah.
And so what happens with that, and I kind of jokingly say that the problem with that is there's always somebody willing to go out of business faster than you. There's always going to be somebody that'll price it lower. And so that's why it's a terrible place to compete. And what I suggest, and I know it's tough, especially when people are first getting started. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't have any business. I'll take anything that comes along.
Yeah.
So, let people beat us up on price. There's a couple things that are really wrong with this. First off, the kind of customer that you attract based solely on price is also a type of customer that's going to leave you based and go to somebody else. You, in many cases, are not able to truly offer the value because you've lowered the price. So now you can't commit and invest in really getting a great result in some cases because you've cut corners yourself, and consequently, a lot of those folks that come to you then almost become detractors because they weren't the right customer. They're all sensitive, and consequently, you haven't been able to serve them. And so the long-term approach certainly is finding a way that you clearly can differentiate, so that somebody comes to you and is able to say, in our case, for example, we have marketing consultants, and they'll walk in and do a business, and somebody will say, well, how are you different than the other marketing consultant? Well, every other marketing consultant basically says, we're going to do this and this and this for you, and then we'll give you a proposal. Well, our people walk in and they say, here's our system, here's what you're going to do, here's what I'm going to do, and by the way, here's what it's going to cost. Well, no, that message either resonates and they want to buy, or they won't right by. And so what happens when you do this, make your total focus on this strategy of differentiation, people come to you expecting to pay a premium.
Yeah.
You also mentioned in previous books the importance of defining your ideal customer. How would you recommend that our customers, small businesses, do this?
This way, if you've been in business at any amount of time, or
losing
the connection there a little bit, John. Can you hear us?
Are we back on now?
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
So one of the easiest ways for somebody to identify their ideal customer, if they have a customer base at all, is to look at a group of your most profitable customers. So rank all of your customers by the type of work, whatever it is that you do with them. And one of the things I find is a lot of businesses that do this, it's pretty obvious in some cases. Some segments of types of work that's very profitable, and some segments and types of work that they either no longer really do anymore, or they took a customer because it was slow and they've priced themselves in such a way, or it's just customers that aim to them and are no longer really a good fit. And so a lot of times, just by doing that exercise, they'll actually start to see some segments of types of work that they should focus on, and consequently types of work that they should maybe not do anymore, and even customers they should get rid of. But then the second piece of this is, of those most profitable customers, can you identify some that are already referring business to you? And out of that maybe smaller group, what are all the common characteristics of that group? Because if you can find some common characteristics among your most profitable customers that are already referring, there's a very, very good chance, my experience tells me almost 100%, that needs to be the description of your ideal client, because you are profitable, but they're referring you, which typically means that not only are you satisfying their needs, but they like you, they like your process, they like your people, and so they're going out of their way to actually talk about you as well. And most of the time when I've gotten people to really take that exercise seriously, they have really been able to come up with almost a picture of a very narrowly defined ideal client. And of course, the whole point of the exercise then is to say, okay, let's go out and find more of them. Let's go out and tell the world that that's who we serve.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sorry, John. I was going to say that's of course another way that you get out of that price sensitive piece too, because when you go out there and you start talking about here's exactly who we serve, if I'm listening and I fit that, I'm thinking, well, I need you, as opposed to the people that are trying to be all things to all people.
Yeah,
exactly. Perfect. You also say that that creating content is vital in order to educate and gain confidence and trust. What would you say to business owners maybe who think that blogging is just for writers, or maybe they're in a market where they haven't really got a lot of things to write about? How can they get started, just to sort of kickstart them?
Well, the one thing you do have to come to the realization that even if somebody refers you, certainly if they are even if they're in your town and they're looking to buy a product, they're turning online now. To research. We even have a term for it now, at least in the States, robo, which is research online, buy offline. So even if you are somebody who says, oh, customers just walk into the store and they buy from me, what do I need to be doing that blogging for? They are online first. And as I said, even if somebody says, oh, you need to hire Bob, he's the greatest, he'll take care of you. Well, they turn to Google immediately and say, let's find out about this Bob character, right? And so what you want to make sure that they're doing is they're finding content that really builds trust, that educates, that really does tell the full story. As far as how to get started, again, turn to customers. In many cases, the questions that they're asking you repeatedly, prospects and customers, is the content you should be writing. In fact, I've had more than one small business customer that have said, well, I don't really know. Sometimes they ask us questions. I don't really know where those are, or how to start. And we go to their sent email inbox, or guarantee you there's at least 50 blogs in there, because you've answered these questions and people have asked you for advice on things, and they've wondered, what are some great tools to do X with, and answer those questions, and it really is a gold mine of content, and that's the thing is I love to start there too, is because there's a good chance that other people, other prospects, other customers have those same questions. So it's tremendous content to start with.
That's a brilliant idea, brilliant approach.
As a hosting business, we have thousands of small business customers that we find that the characteristic is that they find it hard to take action. What would you recommend to them?
To me, what I try to get people to do, because there is, I own a small business, have forever, and there's always more to do, or more that I want to do, I have time to do. And so it really just comes down to priorities. And so, what we do is, we will do quarterly planning that we maybe will revisit on a monthly basis. And what we try to do in there is actually create the smallest list of priorities possible, so that we say, look, this is what is realistic for us to focus all on. And so, that's the part that I think that confuses a lot of people is that they won't make the big list. So consequently, it's really tough to focus on what the priorities are. So that's a step. Step number 2 is it just has to become a habit. So whether it is a monthly marketing theme, or a weekly meeting on action steps, or really daily. I tell a lot of small business owners, that they show Friday at 3 o'clock. And they're thinking, oh, I need to do some marketing for the week. That if you actually schedule an appointment on your calendar, say for 2 o'clock for an hour, or every day for an hour, I'm going to work on marketing, but you actually put it in your calendar, it's a little harder to just blow by it and ignore it. And that's the consistent work that if you do it that way, you approach it that way, you look up at the end of 6 months and you've accomplished quite a bit.
Excellent.
John, I think we had a first. I think we had your dog on the video then.
To speak, but
John, I know you're busy. We've just one more question, just to finish off, and I'm sure you've been asked this a million times. Okay, if you were only able to give 3 pieces of advice to a small business owner, what would these be?
3 pieces of advice. Number one is you've absolutely got to find that difference, that point of differentiation, even if you have to create it or make it up, because essentially you're not doing anything different. But a lot of times people are, but they haven't found it, and when they do find it, they don't communicate it as, here's what we're all about. That's probably number one. Number two is, I think that you have to look at the web no longer as a website or as participating in social media, but you have to look at it as a total online presence. So that includes your content, and that includes email marketing, and it certainly includes participating in social media. And you just have to, that has to, no matter what your business is, that has to be a part of it. And probably the third piece, because I think it's one of the most underutilized tactics, is think in terms of building a team of best-of-class providers for everything that your customers need. So regardless of if you provide web hosting, do they also need design? Do they also need writers? Do they also need people that can teach them how to use social media tools? What if you thought in terms of every customer that came to you, that you were able to say, and by the way, here are 10 other resources. These aren't just people that we're affiliated with. These are people we believe in, we use, and we think they can help your business. So I think one of the greatest ways that you build value for your customers is by providing, being a resource like that. And of course, really in many cases, those team members, if you want to call them that, are also going to turn into great referral sources for you as well.
Brilliant. That's fantastic, John.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's all for today. But again, thank you very much for your time, and we'll look forward to communicating out to our readers.
You bet.
Thank you.
Well, I did fail to mention that I have we talked at the beginning about the new book, and I do have a website. The TED Talk that you saw and some other content there. It's called makingworkworthit.com, because that's the subtitle of the book, and it's definitely a message that I have really enjoyed sharing with people.
Well, we'll obviously include the link for that on the post.
Great.
Okay, and thank you very much, and that's all for now. Thanks then, John.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.